Hello and welcome back. Just wanting to go over a subject today that I know was kind of iffy to me. I didn't understand it at first a few years ago. I guess I should say years ago. I didn't understand it, but nowadays I just wanted to make sure that if there's anybody new to the hobby, that they understand what it means. That being said, it's in regard to what is called dual rates. I know that some people may not know what that exactly is referring to, but I'll switch over to a video I did using my Ranger to kind of go into a little bit more of that, of how to actually set that on your radio, but in a little bit. But right now I just want to kind of go over the concept of it, because dual rates are mainly just basically having two different flight modes, like for instance, having your all your flaps, your ailerons and so forth set to where they are at a setting rate for instance, a trainer mode instance, or you could call it a normal mode is what it's usually listed as, or you can also have it set up as a sport mode for doing aerobatics and so forth. Just depends on how you have those set. But whenever you go get into your manuals, most manuals, and I got two different manuals open here to use them as examples. This is from the my P51, and this one here is from my Ranger. But this little device here that they're showing in this is the typical gauge that you would want to use. If you don't have that, you can use something like this. This is just a millimeter ruler, which is what I picked up. It'll talk about your aileron throw setting for the low rate here. Is 17 millimeters up or down. So that's 17 millimeters up or down from that particular center setting. Elevator, low rate, rudder, and flaps, low rate. And then down here, it goes over what the high rates are, which if you notice, the high rate for the aileron is 28. The low rate was 17. So that's obviously a difference of about 11 millimeters up or down, which when you look at that on a scale, you know, that's a pretty good difference there. Helps if I show that in the scale there. But yeah, 11 millimeters between, that's about that much difference between my fingers there. So I mean, that's a pretty good difference. And what it does is that allows you to have more control over your plane, rather than if that aileron goes flying up in the air a lot higher, it's going to make your plane jerk around more in the air and be harder to control when you're trying to land and so forth, which is what helps. So that's the whole point of that. When you set your toggle switch, you'll have a toggle switch set up on your radio and have that programmed into your settings, to where when you flip that switch, it'll be in either normal mode or it'll be in the sport mode. So again, the same type of thing. You would just go into your manual and find that here, and then you can obviously go into your radio booklet and find out how to set up your dual rates, to be able to set up your normal rate, or your sometimes again they're called trainer mode, but you can set it up in normal rate, and then your high rate, or excuse me, your high rate and your low rate. I got them backwards when I pointed there, for your radio. Okay, hello everybody. Here I'm getting ready to set up my rates on my Ranger here. Just wanted to go over a couple things on how to do that in case you haven't done that. I'm using the FlySky i6X. If you do not have that, obviously you'll want to check with your particular radio, but this is particularly for this radio. So I'm gonna get into that right now. First things first, in the manual for this, you'll want to find where it talks about the control throws. Make sure obviously all of your steering and so forth, your rudder, your ailerons, your elevators are all in the right directions whenever they're going per your channels. And then obviously you're going to have your elevator. These are your high rates and your low rates. And if you're setting this up for like first time flight, you're going to go with your low rates here. And I basically went for the rudder. I went ahead and went with 10 for all of these. It's only 2 millimeters of difference. And I went ahead and went with 2 millimeters because I don't really use the rudder in flight. I use more the steering wheel, which is connected onto that same channel for this. So I use the rudder slightly, but that's usually, it's very rare. So I'm just saying you can put that at 8 millimeters if you want, but that's up to you. I will say it was currently running when I checked it at like 20 something. So I mean, it's obviously way over what it needs to be. So I'm going to show you, we're going to start with the elevator here, and I'm going to show you how to set this up in case you were unaware. And so first things first, you're going to go up here into your, got a glare on my screen. You're going to go into here, you're going to hit the button here to get into, hold that for a second, get into menu. You're going to switch this over here to your setup, hold that same button again for a second. And then you're going to go down here to the dual rate and expo. I'm going to go down to that. Select that. Okay, so this is for channel 1. And again, we need to remember what channel was the elevator on. For instance, elevator, it says on the same manual right across over here, elevator was on channel 2. Now, as long as you set up your channels the same as what it was in here, these should be the same. But if you didn't do that, then you'll have obviously a different channel. But whatever channel you may have it set up on, you'll want to do that. So I'm going to now switch to channel 2 for the elevator. Okay, and then we're going to take a look at this at 100%. And I've got me a trusty. You can buy a special gauge for this, but I have me it's basically just a little metric gauge. I got this for literally $4 at Home Depot, and we'll set this up here. These are millimeters on the left, and we'll set this up. And we'll see exactly what happens when I adjust the elevator on my controller, how far that moves. Just one second. Okay, so I'm kind of zoomed in here so you can see on the wing. And I'm going to put this gauge right there just so we can see the throw up and down what this goes. I'll put it on an even number here, like 100. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to pull this elevator up and down so you can see how far it goes. So right now, holy cow. Basically stock, it's going to go all the way up to 80 and all the way down to 30. So if you're just doing this, or went down to 125 it appears to be. So if you're just doing that, here's how we can adjust that. We'll go into your settings here. As you see, channel 2, rate 100%. So I want you to see this adjust basically. So I'm going to hold this down. I want you to watch the tail as I do this. So let me get the glare off the screen. I'm going to hold this down, and you can see that's tilted up behind me there. And then I'm going to change this down. First of all, I'm going to go down to the rate. There we go. Okay, so now watch the rate, and then watch that change as we go down. You're going to see that slowly start coming down there. See it? Okay, so we got it at 33% right now. So let's see where our throw is. And if it's closer to what it needs to be, because remember it said in there it needs to be 10 millimeters for the low. So we're starting out, and it's right at 10 millimeters approximately, if you notice where it's throwing. So we're starting out, I've got the top of the edge, the leading edge there, right at 100. And it's going right up to about 90. So that's actually pretty good. I'm gonna put it on 35 and leave it there. If I feel it needs to be trimmed down any more, wow, helps if I let you see that there. I'm gonna put that on 35. There we go. And if it needs to be trimmed down anymore, I can let you know. But basically, you do this the same for all of the features, whether it's the rudder, the ailerons, and your elevator. So, I mean, just keep that in mind if you want to do those. You can go through, pick out which channel again you want. And once you're done, you obviously save that. You have to hold down the save button. If you don't do that, when you go back into there and you select it, you get to channel 2, which was the elevator. Notice it's back at 100% because I didn't hold down the save button over here on the right. So you have to hold that save button down after you save that. So we'll go ahead and lower that back down to 35, and then I'll hold the save button. You'll see it'll save it this time. You have to hear a high-pitched beep. Right now you're hearing a low pitch every time you're switching through stuff. But now watch. Did you hear the high-pitched beep? So now we'll select it again, go to channel 2, and there you go. See, it's at 35%. So, all right. Just want to make a note here. So I've got this set up here as like a Model 3, which doesn't have anything set. But so in order to get this toggle switch to, or one of your toggle switches, I'm just going to use this one here, which is switch A, to work for switching between your dual rates, such as normal and sport. For instance, on the FlySky mode or model, we'll have to first go in here to system, and to get any of your switches to work, first of all, you're going to have to select system, hold that down again, go down here to the bottom. So go all the way down. You're going to pass the firmware update one more time. See where it says auxiliary switches? So I've already had some of them activated, but you're going to want to make sure you'll select that, and you're going to want to make sure, see, I've switched A off on purpose so we could switch it on here, but you're going to want to make sure any of these switches, this is A, B, and on here it's C, D, and this is variable A, variable B, but you're going to want to switch, and I've got this set up in 10 channel mode. So you're going to want to switch these to on so that you can utilize them. Otherwise they won't show up later on down the road. So let's, sorry, I hit the wrong button. Select that again. So we're going to want to switch that to the on position. There we go. And then obviously save it by holding down the cancel button. Okay. And then to get out of it, you'll just lightly tap the cancel button. And then we're going to switch over to the setup section, function setup, basically. Select that. And then we're going to scroll down. That's where the dual rate would be at when we set that up. But then you're going to go down, keep going past that to assigned switches. So then you'll select that. And now you're going to see the fly mode. So that's where this is at. So if you notice when we come over here and we select the fly mode, it says normal, switch D, switch C, switch B, switch A. So if we leave it on switch A and we go over here and we flip that, see how it's switched to sport, normal, sport. So that's what I'm going to leave it as a switch A, but I have to save it again because this is, hold down the cancel key. There we go. And that's what saves that into memory. So now we have the assigned switches for the for that set up. So now the dual rates can be set up. So when you go in and you're setting up, let's go backwards up this little menu here. And we're doing the dual rates. But when you're setting that up, you can also obviously go up to, when you flip the switch and you set it to sport, that's going to, that's when you can set your rate for the sport mode as well. Okay, and it'll set it for that mode. When you save it into memory, it'll have it set for that. So also the Expo, I know people sometimes ask, well, what's that? What that does is that basically puts like a rotated curve or an adjustment to that. But if we set that up, if you watch the curve, it's making more of a sine wave. If you notice, so you're going to have a sharper, you know, more of a curved adjustment. So when you're like doing when you're pulling the stick, it's going to have a softer bend in certain areas or more of a sharper edge. So when you're in the middle rate, it'll be about the same, but when you're coming to the end, it's going to be more softened when you're going up or down, let's say, with your stick. So that's the whole point of that, is you can adjust that to make it for your better feeling of how you want that to smooth into your adjustments. So that's one thing there. We can get into that further if you want on another item, but I just thought I'd say that. I just want to thank you all again for watching, and I would like to say, if you have any questions or ideas for future videos, feel free to leave a comment regarding those items. If you have found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe, as I will be providing more videos in the future. And if you provide your feedback on that, it will be helpful. So thanks again, and see you all next time.